Good morning, afternoon, evening. Welcome to my first Premier League roundup. The biggest news of the week is that I got a haircut. The second biggest news of the week is that the transfer window closed. And holy moly do I have a lot to talk about. The last day of the window, which is usually a flurry of activity, was interesting, if a little flat in terms of excitement. Man City totaled their spending at £52 million and didn't buy any of the players that Roberto Mancini wanted, officially giving them the record for the most expensive panic buys in history. Andy Carroll travelled on a season-long loan to West Ham from Liverpool, and then Liverpool subsequently realised that they were now down a striker with no time to do anything about it. Good one, guys. So in light of all this, I picked out a couple of stories that I think are examples of the good and the bad of the transfer window. First up, Clint Dempsey, and this is an extremely confusing situation, so please bear with me. Clint Dempsey was a Fulham player who fancied a move elsewhere. He heard that Liverpool were interested and decided to try and force through a move. How did he do that? By refusing to play for Fulham. That is not okay. Clint Dempsey had a contract with Fulham. Now, I don't know the finer details of that contract, but I think it's safe to say it probably said something like, you agree to make yourself available to play for this club, and in return the club will pay you for your services. By refusing to play, Clint Dempsey refused to hold up his obligation as laid out in his signed contract. That is atrocious. If I worked as a waiter, and I refused to come into work one day, I just kind of rang them and said, yeah, I don't fancy coming in because I want a job at another restaurant, I'd get fired. Fulham had every right to fire Clint Dempsey, and they probably should have, but they didn't. And why? Because they both knew how valuable he was to that club. He knew he'd get away with it because he knew that Fulham weren't going to let their key player go for free when they could sell him for upwards of £5 million. This is a debate that could go on for hours, so I'm not going to have it right here. But what it boils down to is this. At the moment, it feels like players see themselves as bigger than the clubs that they're playing for. So much money is being thrown around that it almost feels like they've lost sight of why they were playing in the first place. Their egos and their wage demands have driven prices so high, which in turn has driven up the money paid for TV rights so high, and that has made it so that I can't afford Sky Sports anymore, and that's a damn shame. Clint Dempsey, you owe me Sky Sports. Basically. I don't have a magic solution to this problem, and it's up to smarter people than myself to come up with one. But I will say this, maybe it's time for those smart people to start having that conversation. On a side note, after spending weeks talking about how much he wanted to go to Liverpool, Liverpool came in with a pretty weak bid. They got rejected, decided they didn't really want to go any further, and he's ended up at Tottenham. Awkward. Moving on to a more positive example of the transfer window in action, and I'd be a fool not to talk about this because it's the biggest story of the summer. Robin van Persie has moved from Arsenal to Manchester United. So much has already been said on this already that I'm going to keep my views on it short and sweet. I feel like this is a great bit of business for everyone. United have brought in a player of immense skill, a consummate professional with a real desire to play. He's got experience of all English and European competitions as well as being a star on the international stage. Sir Alex Ferguson now has 4 world-class strikers at his disposal. He himself has harkened back to the glory days of 1999 when we won the treble, and he was able to regularly rotate Solskjaer, Sheringham, Cole and York. And given the number of games that teams play nowadays, the importance of having fresh strikers on hand is so clear. And Wayne Rooney getting injured only highlights that point even more. Yes, RVP is 29 years old, and yes, that's kind of advanced for a striker, but not really at Manchester United when you consider we've still got Ryan Giggs and Paul Scholes as team regulars. It just goes to show that age isn't a factor at Old Trafford. Fergie's always done this. He's always brought in older players to sort of hold down the fort and help his young players learn and grow as they rise through the ranks. Laurent Blanc is one example, Michael Owen. I really think that Van Persie's influence and experience is going to be so beneficial to the Welbecks, to the Hernandezes, to the Cleverleys of the squad. And as for Arsenal, they've managed to take a 29-year-old with 1 year left on his contract who wasn't going to sign another one, and they've sold him for £24 million. It's not a bad day at the office. And Arsenal are going to survive. I wouldn't even be worried that this is the second year in a row that star players have left. You can't build a team around one man, so this is actually going to be good for the Gunners. They've brought in Giroud, Podolski, Santi Cazorla, and they've taken a bit of time to gel together, but they beat Liverpool 2-0 in my match pick from last week. So things are going to look up, and I'm going to be honest, I think they're going to be one to watch for the rest of the season. That's it from me this week. Don't forget to check out GB Poster's Fantasy Football League, the link for which will be in the description. I'm in it. I'm currently second. I don't know how that's happened. I'm going to win at the end of it though, so, keep that in mind. Until next time, I'm Daniel J. Layton vlogging for gbposters.com. Bye for now.